Welcome everyone to another episode of In the Hearts of Men podcast. And we're here once again. And today we're talking about lovemaking and talking about some of our experiences around lovemaking, how to make love, and also the beauty that that brings into our life and into our relationships and how it can be in the bedroom. However, it also transcends the bedroom. It's really a way of being and a state of consciousness that we can cultivate in our relationship with life, not just with women, with life, or if you're a woman, not just with men, but with life and with our own self. Making love. The world needs more love. So yeah, it's an exciting topic. It was prompted, and every week we just kind of intuit, what is it that we want to share about? And we drop in, and Kirby suggested, why don't we talk about sexuality? And in our last men's group, Kirby had brought this prompt of what is lovemaking, and we shared in the group, and there was some really juicy, amazing reflections and insights that came through, I think, for everyone. I know for me, I had some new kind of nuggets and like epiphanies around this term lovemaking, which we'll go into more. And it feels like what a great thing to talk about, to continue to explore and unpack and learn about. Because as we share and as we share these words and talk with each other, we continue to learn as well. So yeah, to start it off, what is lovemaking to you? When you hear that, when you feel that, and what is your experience?
I find it easiest to share initially what it's not. And differentiating lovemaking from sex right away is important. It's really important to do, because I feel like so many men are caught in the bubble of sex being lovemaking, and they want the experience of having sex and ejaculating, essentially. That euphoric rush that most men get when they release in that way. I feel like that's really been conditioned into men at a very young age as to like, that's what lovemaking is, that's what sex is, that's what we're here to do. And you know, there's a degree of truth in the fact that we're here to procreate and we're here to evolve as a species, but through oppression and a lot of the storms that have been created through like a highly sexualized youth, I feel to be really challenging and troubling for our society. So it's not that version of sex to me. What lovemaking to me is a union of me with myself initially, and then me with something that is greater than myself. And that can be my partner, and that can be divine, that can be creator, source, consciousness, whatever term the individual likes to use. I use creator, source, divine, all of those. And it's a union of those, an invocation, inviting them into my soul, into my being, and creating a sense of synergy in a container to connect. It's connection for me. Connecting, most importantly, with myself, with the inner God that is true to me, and allowing for that seed to grow and envelop the people that are around me. So that could be my partner in a lovemaking session, for example. And it could be, you know, the love that I have to bring to the world. So it's not just the act of intercourse or of eros, it's how I show up in the world and how I show up and do the things that I want to do with a similar expansion of the divine that I feel within. And there's so many different practices that allow and help me connect in a deep way, because I feel a big struggle of mine initially on the path was, okay, great. I hear that there's this beautiful path that you can connect deeper in, but I don't see any steps of how to get there. All I see and feel in my field right now is watching porn, ejaculating, feeling good after, and then needing it again in 16 hours. And then doing that again and repeating, when there's no evolution of it. So how and why would I choose something different if I don't see any steps or there isn't any juice for me to go that path, right? And the juice for me in it was, just tap into that for a second. For me, like, I want to say nice words here, but it was the potential of me feeling the sensation of ejaculation for a longer period of time and more consistently in my life. So it was that euphoria and that like sense of feel good that I got when I was releasing to be more present in my life. And I heard that it was possible for men to have lovemaking sessions where they were feeling this euphoria for periods of time. And I didn't know it to be true, but I was suffering so deeply that I wanted to try something different. And I've heard from many potent teachers that this life force and this energy within us, our sexual energy, is the one to tap into, to transmute into our dreams and into where we want to go in our life. And so I leaned in, and I leaned into a few tantric teachers and Taoist teachers, and my landscape and ability to feel really increased. And I feel like I'm in a really beautiful place with it now that I wouldn't have imagined. Yeah. So that's like a little bit of what lovemaking means to me. And I'm curious, in you, what does it mean in you, for you, to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, lovemaking, it's a really beautiful practice that transcends sexuality and can be cultivated through sexuality, and often is spoken with in the context of sex. You know, if you said, oh, I made love with this person, it would mean pretty consistently that you had sex with them. However, I like expanding my perception of what that is, because love is something that can be cultivated or made in so many areas of life. And when it comes to intimacy with a partner, for example, we've both shared about this and discovered that intimacy starts before any sexual connection. And women have been trying to tell this to men for a long time. And, you know, as men, sometimes we forget that the feminine moves differently than us. That men are often, you know, we can go right to the sexual act quite quickly or desire that. And that's also due to conditionings quite a bit. And for the feminine essence within us too, because it's not just the female, it's the feminine embodiment of a female that desires that emotional intimacy. And I found in myself, like, that was at times a block in my relationships. And as I've come to explore that with myself, with my beloved, with you, with men, that emotional intimacy, that it starts to expand the feminine within me. And it's like the idea of just going right to sex doesn't feel good anymore. Like, it can happen quickly if there's already built that emotional intimacy and there's that rapport and you have that heart connection and it's been developed through the day or whatever it might be, or it's just present in your connection. However, to like have sex without a sense of that deeper emotional connection is really unappealing to me. Like, it doesn't feel good in my system. It feels like I'm dishonoring or disrespecting my own self. And yeah, it's like I'd much rather have a feeling of connection first. So if there's conflict with my beloved, then it feels really good to resolve that conflict and then make love, for example. And so for me, that love making comes in moments often before having any kind of sex. It comes in the moments where we move throughout our day, how emotionally available we are to ourselves and to the other, the deeper conversations and truth-telling and sharing and authenticity that we have with another, where it's about giving to the wellspring of our relationship. That's something that I talk about with my beloved. I use beloved because I realized I don't really resonate with the term partner. It feels like to me, partner feels like someone you're like a business partner with or something. And I think in intimate relationships, there's aspects of partnership. However, when I think of her as my beloved, it's like there's more eros in that, there's more intimacy in that, is how I feel. There's like a uniqueness to it. So that's why I say beloved. And so in that, when we talk about it as this wellspring of the relationship that we both have to give to through our availability, through our intimacy, the deep conversations, the willingness to meet the face of conflict with love, to resolve things in a healthy way, that wellspring then feeds us. And that's a lot of what the lovemaking is tending to this wellspring before, during, and after intimacy and sexuality. And that's really what it is like the giving and the receiving. Because what I've found in a lot of other moments, especially as men in relationship to porn, for example, porn, there's no giving. Like, the porn is taking something from men, and the men are taking something. Like, it's very transactional. It's an energy of taking. And that's why it tends to deplete people. It tends to not be life promoting. And in a relationship with a woman or a man, or however your orientation is, it can be the same. Many people come at it from taking, trying to get something. They want to get pleasure or get satisfaction or get relief or get validation or whatever, get love. And they're trying to get. And that's a very fear-based energy where it's like, I don't have it, I need to get it from this person. It's like kind of parasitic or vampiric. And that's not love. Like, love is about giving and receiving. And love is about being in this flow of energy. So there's also this state of presence that is required to be in that space of giving and receiving. That is where, for me, like, the deeper practices of cultivating my own energy, both sexually and also in meditation and personal practice, to be able to find that deeper space of presence and equanimity.
Is there a difference between sexual and non-sexual energy in your personal practice?
Yeah, definitely. The sexual energy for me is more of this like primal, or like it's more connected to the physical. Whereas like if I'm connecting more directly to consciousness, it tends to be at a more subtle level. So there's a point where it kind of transcends sexuality because it's in a more consciousness-based reality.
I feel they're the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to a degree. I mean, all is consciousness. For me, when I'm reaching a state of consciousness that starts to transcend the personality and the ego and the physical and the mind, the sexual energy tends to go with that. Like, it tends to kind of dissolve into that state of blissful awareness. So I find there is like a distinction for me. Mm-hmm. However, everything does, like, the two can coincide. Like, we can bring consciousness and deep presence to our sexual energy, and our sexual energy can provide life force and, you know, motivation and all the rest.
What I hear in that is your path is different from my path to that connection, because my path is through sexuality and through that specific energy, which is beautiful to hear.
Yeah. And so, yeah, how does it show up in your practice?
It's always sexual for me. There's an element of lovemaking that, and eros, that is inherent in my being, that is always there. And it's always here and present in my thinking pattern, conscious or subconscious. And I feel like that's because I'm here to procreate and to evolve. As I feel the greater mass of the population is here to do, you know? That's why I believe, are here. And so in knowing that, I believe that all things can be perceived that way. And I like this way of looking and being because it feels really good in all of the areas and all of the ways for me. And it's not in sexualizing things, but it's in knowing that my essence is that, and the energy and the connection that I foster and create with the above, below, in, out, is all from that place of love, of tantric energy, of prana that's flowing through my body. Yeah, so I'm not sure that if I answered your question, but that's kind of like a deeper sense of what it means to me. And yeah, I feel like it also encompasses like many beautiful practices that do not include any sexual contact. You know, and it can be very beautiful to just be in that sense of love without having any prioritization around sexual practice, but it's inherent, I believe, in all people. So an element of it is always present, whether we're conscious of it or not. Yeah.
The way I like to relate to the sexual energy too is from like the Taoist Chinese perspective, where it's like the three treasures they're called, which is Jing, Qi, and Shen. So Jing is like your kidney, adrenal, sexual, primarily your sexual energy, and it's very heavy and dense and much more physical. And then the Qi is this more fluid flow of energy that moves through your being, which the Jing is more dense, the Qi is more subtle, and then the Shen is like the light of your soul, like the light of your spirit. And so the Jing and the Qi, or the Jing and the Qi can be feeding of the spirit in that system. So when we have strong life force energy, it's like, another way to describe it is like a candle, that the Jing is like the wax, the Qi is like the flame, and the light that the flame emits is the spirit. So I find that if I'm practicing, and I'm talking more like formal spiritual practice, like if I'm connecting with my beloved, like, or with myself in a sexual way, like there's just sexual energy. It's not, you can't like, there's not a transcendence of that energy. It's more in like the deeper personal practice of exploring consciousness.
There isn't transcendence of the energy in a personal practice for you? Or
yeah, well, I'm talking more about like, you asked me if there's a separation. So if like, if I'm practicing in a deep space of meditation or qigong or cultivation of my inner world, there's a space of consciousness that is connecting with the light of the flame. And the more that you move towards the light of the flame and what's even beyond the light of the flame, moving into deeper spaces of consciousness, the physical tends to start to dissolve. We start to transcend the physical through those deeper practices. And so then the sexual energy is not as present. Like you reach a certain state of consciousness and it tends to transcend the sexual energy. So there's like, one of my elders talks about the stories of the different peoples in the Americas, especially in South America, in the places like Machu Picchu and these states or these cities that were built in magical means, that the people there had very high consciousness, and that the elders say that those people were such high consciousness, they no longer had sex. Like they only had sex when they needed to create another human being. Otherwise, they were in such a high state of consciousness and such bliss and ecstasy beyond the sexual energy that to have sex actually lowered their energy level. And so it was kind of like drawing straws. I mean, those are paraphrasing it, but it was like drawing straws to be like, okay, who's going to procreate? Because you would have to lower your energy to procreate. So it's not that there's not pleasure in those states, it's just like the sexual energy is a more physical energy. So when like the conquistadors and the people from Europe came, there's many stories of different peoples in the Americas that were living in these higher states of consciousness where they just transcended. They're like, well, our time here is over. There's this wave of darkness and evil coming through people, and there's going to be like they saw what was coming, and so they simply transcended. They had Mahasamadhi. They just simply went into the next realm of existence, and they were done. So, you know, these are more like where I'm speaking of in terms of beyond the sexual. But if I'm with my beloved, then it's like, yeah, you're having sex, or you're connecting in an emotional way, so you're working on a more human physical level. And the cultivation of consciousness and a connection to God and love and truth will generally only benefit those connections, because it increases one's capacity to love. Because for me, when I imagine love, like the source of love is God, is consciousness, is like the light of the flame. It is the essence of our being. So the more that we can connect with that place within ourselves, the more that we can make love with another, because we have a deeper connection to love. And that's where there's a flow of giving in that energy too. That it's a very giving energy. So it's very present with what is, right? It's like present with the sensations, the feelings, the experiences, whether they're positive or negative, right? Like sometimes in lovemaking, it's not always just this like ecstatic state of bliss or pleasure. It can sometimes bring up deep shame or insecurity or fear or
hard boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And so it's definitely, can bring tears of joy or tears of sorrow and pain. That's the nature of love. So yeah, that's to kind of give more context of like how I differentiated the two in some practice.
It's beautiful.
And I've been in relationship with someone where we did a lot of like consciousness-based meditations, where it is about connecting to that consciousness, and there wasn't as much polarity, there wasn't as much sexual connection, because that's just how it is. Like the closer you get to this like divine source and start to move beyond the duality of the physical, the less polarization there is, because you're moving more to this neutral point, which can be very peaceful and blissful, but it doesn't always translate into a strong charged relationship. And so there's limitations in that sense.
Yeah, it's a beautiful topic. It's really like we're in these bodies where we are in the physical right now. I can feel this hurts, right? So it's like I know that I can feel that, and I know that I can feel the opposite of what hurting is, or challenge or pain, and where do I choose to reside and how and why. And yeah, I love the explanation and how you kind of went through it with thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it gives me some stuff to ponder and think about for the rest of my day, and yeah, I still feel pretty like certain in my field that it's the sexual energy that creates that holding for me, that is the light as well. I don't really see the differentiation, although it was explained well. I have to think about it before. And it's a beautiful thing. Like I used to always have to agree or disagree with somebody on something in a firm way. And it's beautiful to know and have the ability to take it, to think about it, and then see how that fits into your life before choosing a definitive path,
Yeah.
Challenging ideas.
Totally.
Yeah.
And seeing, like recognizing that so much of our reality is based on beliefs and narratives that we resonate with, and it's in the pursuit of truth that I'm always in the pursuit of truth, and like getting as close to like the deep truths as possible, which is part of why I love studying different ways, like Taoism or Vedic teachings or Native American ways or the ways of the Christ, and like all these different ways on the planet, and finding where there's these similarities, right? And one of the reasons that I've perceived that a lot of spiritual traditions speak of like not engaging in sexual activity is not because it's like bad or wrong or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of shadow in that. However, is because it can pull, like if you're on the path of liberation from lifetime and reincarnation, then it's the merging back into consciousness and that the sexual energy does have a tendency to keep us engaged in the physical life. And that path in many spiritual traditions, not to say that that's the path, it's just a path, is to transcend the physical. And another way is to bring consciousness into the physical and to bring God into our physical life, which is more the path that I feel called to, is like merging with consciousness and connecting to consciousness, and also bringing consciousness into my human life and into my connection with my sexuality.
And that is lovemaking.
Yeah.
In essence. Like that's lovemaking to me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like bringing God into your relationships.
Exactly. And into specific sexual containers that aren't always just like, we're going to sit and think about and meditate on Christ consciousness for a period of time. It can be spicy. It can be role playing. It can be, whatever
Yeah,
the
like
calling
we're going to
is.
dress up like Jesus.
I haven't tried that one yet. That's funny.
I hear you though.
Yeah, but it can be really like enjoyable and euphoric, and like that's the thing about lovemaking is it can be really, really good for both people, and it's important that it is, right? And it's important that within sexual lovemaking containers that we can speak our truth and show up and lean into edges that we're curious about, and we're not certain. They're not all going to go really well.
Yeah.
Right? Some will and some won't. And having a partner or a beloved or somebody to share those experiences with creates like a variety and a palette that can be really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, to build on what you're saying, one way to really interpret the experience of anything is not on the experience, but the fruits that it bears. So for example, you brought up watching porn. Like most men, especially men who are more conscious of their inner world or their being, is that in the moment of engaging with porn, it may feel good physically. Sometimes it doesn't even. However, afterwards, it often doesn't feel good. It tends to detract from someone's life. It reduces their intimacy with themselves and others. It can create sexual dysfunctions, all sorts of stuff, right? So the fruits of it don't bear good things in someone's life generally.
Yeah.
Whereas a healthy self-love practice, where it's not engaging in those fantasies, but just simply being fully present with your body alone, with creating a romantic setting, will tend to enhance your intimacy with yourself, with your partner. It'll build your sexual energy in a healthy way. It'll give you more control over it in a way that's, dignified, and so it bears good fruits. And so it's the same with like lovemaking with a partner, that if we engage in lovemaking and afterwards we feel a sense of deeper love or connection with ourselves or the other, then that shows that the fruits are good. Whereas, I don't really have experience with like one night stands and stuff. However, often there can be this, from what I've heard from others, a sense of like, it's never quite enough, or feeling depleted, or feeling guilty, or feeling, just depleted from those experiences. Or if you're with someone that doesn't have a container of strong love, after having sex, it doesn't always, you don't feel more connected necessarily. So it's kind of like gauging it from the fruits that are born from it. Which, when we make love, even if it brings up negative things that are challenging, generally through that it creates a deeper sense of trust and safety in the relationship and love with ourselves.
Trust is built through saying the hard thing. Yeah, so it's like when you feel like you can't say something is when you likely should lean in. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's your experience with that? Like in moments, if you look on your past where like it hasn't been about lovemaking, it's been about your own gratification or pleasure or escapism, and how you felt after those, or what the fruits of those were in your life, versus the fruits of a loving connection such as what you share with your partner now.
There was a hard stop to them. Like it felt really good, and then it was over. And then it was like, okay, life goes on, and I was back to the vibration that I felt before. Whereas now it's like the container could be complete, be it in a sexual sense or a non-sexual sense. The container could be complete, but the vibration from the container lasts a lot longer and encompasses me and my family, I feel, with like euphoria and laughter and play and fun, and just like it increases the vibration of the collective household and the people around me. So it's like, that's where it continues to grow and envelop and hold more and more and more, and it's continuing to expand. Whereas, you know, previously I have had experience with one night stands, and yeah, it felt good in the moment, but then it was over. It's like, and there's nothing lasting there. So that created a deficit in me. And looking back, I now know that, like, in making love or having sex with somebody, it wasn't necessarily making love, but having sex with somebody, you take on a little bit of that person every single time. And if I were to go back and tell myself something as a younger person, I would say, know that. Just know that as a truth. And navigate yourself accordingly. And discern. But that's a really key part that I wish I had or I knew as a younger person. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's really beautiful, and kind of ties into some of the things I was considering earlier around energy levels, states of consciousness, and sexuality. Where, like, some people, like, if we're operating at a very destructive level of consciousness, such as like being chronically depressed or like afraid, or, you know, in an apathetic state, or just stuck in those negative patterns of addictions, then the act of having sex, especially for a man ejaculating, will, in that moment of pleasure, actually raise up our energy. Even just for a man to see a very beautiful, radiant woman can lift our energy. It can actually, and we all feel it, right? Like, it's a sense of, like, we can feel an elation from it. Not even a sexual thing. It's just like seeing beauty in nature, being in a beautiful sunset. It raises our energy, and sexuality has the same effect. And even if we're engaging with sex, like watching porn, or like engaging with a woman in a way that's not respectful, it still raises that energy, because the act of sex it can have a certain frequency, even if it's just pleasure seeking, because it's life promoting. Sex is about creating life. Whereas when we make love, it's now the love making supersedes the pleasure in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
It's now like, it's about the pleasure, it's about the enjoyment, but it's also about raising our energy to this more spiritual place of love, where it's alive with what is. Like, whoa, like, this deep trauma came up. Okay, we're gonna just like stop everything and, you know, be present with this, or this doesn't feel right, and we're just gonna be present with it, or whatever. You know, it's like, love is the priority, not getting pleasure, right? And
that's I think a key distinction, and that's where, for me, it's like, that's how they are the same. In that, like, if there's something that comes up in the container, it stops, and we find, you know, that path. The container doesn't necessarily stop, but we hold it, and we create spaciousness without having a goal or wanting to get to a certain place in it. It's just a creative place to be and exist.
Yeah, totally. It's like, it's not like there's no destination. And the moment there's a destination, we're now disconnected from the present moment, which is where we find love. And it completely changes the vibration. And
attaching to it, right? If I'm attached to ejaculation, then that's really not serving of the container. Because then as soon as that's over, then it's over.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's really interesting.
And it's now like becoming about getting something from the person, right? And that's
transactional.
Yeah, exactly.
In essence,
the energy of getting, taking is not loving. It's not bad or wrong. It's okay. Like, we all do it. We all have tendencies in life for that. It's just like, it doesn't feel good. If someone comes, even in sales, you know, like, if someone's selling you something and you can tell they just want to get your money, they're trying to like silver tongue salesman you, it doesn't feel good in the system. It's like, I don't like that. But if you can tell someone authentically is like, oh, you're here to spend money potentially on something, let me help you to buy the best car to suit your needs, or like to really serve in some way, there's an energy of then giving. It's not a, they're not trying to get something from you, they're trying to give to you. So in sexuality, it's the same. Like, if we're constantly trying to give to our partners and also receive what we need and speak our needs and give to ourselves too, then it creates a space of love and safety. Because it just doesn't feel good, you know, when someone wants something from you. It's like it just like pushes people away. It's like if someone, that energy of desire and grasping tends to push people away.
And it also creates polarity. Topic next week.
Yeah,
polarity.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can create healthy or unhealthy polarity. Yeah.
Yeah, when polarity is created subconsciously, it's unhealthy. When it's consciously created, it's beautiful and can still be very challenging.
Yeah. And it's like there's nothing wrong with the desire, and the desire is what stimulates all creation. It's when there's the taking, the getting, the grasping, the clinging that a desire can create if we are emotionally attached to something, that tends to create the problem.
The power and the control. Yeah.
Yeah. So desires are great. They're important. They stimulate life and creation. It's just, being present with love, lovingly manifesting our desires, which is another form of making love. Yeah. So do you have any closing thoughts about this topic?
Yeah, I just want to invite anyone listening that if you find yourself in the pattern and the path of, attached to orgasm, attached to releasing, attaching to what you know sexuality and lovemaking to be, get curious about it. Curious about a different way, a way of actually deepening in more pleasure. Letting go of old ideas that are perhaps no longer serving you. Yeah. And we are here and would love to support you in the best way that we know how, through men's work, through one-on-one offerings. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's a beautiful invitation. And I would also invite a similar presencing for us all. It's a constant practice of presence and deep listening, especially with your partner, especially with your beloved, with the energy of sex and intimacy, is really to ask, like, how can I be more deeply present? And how can I start being present before I'm there, right? So like, whether that means going for a walk or meditating or doing some breath work alone, if you know you're going to be making love, or having a container with your beloved, like, take some space to let go of your day, or to free your mind, so you're not going in with the busyness of whatever is alive for you. 10 minutes deep breathing, 20 minutes of practice to bring that presence, so you can be more present and not have an attachment to an outcome, which is so deeply programmed. Have grace on yourself too. It's like, it's a constant practice,
And the practice pays off.
Yeah. It's incredibly fulfilling and enriching for all areas of life. And so we have our Equanimous Man group for men, and these are some of the topics that we discuss in the group and share with the men and encourage as conversations, because it's so important for men and women to talk about these things, talk about our intimacy and sexuality. And the group is open to all men. And we also, like you said, have the one-on-one and other group. I do some other group work that's open to men and women. And so, those are available. Just reach out, give a comment, find us online, and we'd love to connect. So thank you so much for listening, and yeah, we'd love to hear from you about your experiences with lovemaking, and if you have any reflections or takeaways from this episode, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you next week.